It was barely 7:30 a.m. when the knock came at our door, hard, fast, and entitled. I hadn't even had my second sip of coffee. My wife, Melissa, stood at the kitchen sink, still in her robe, hair wrapped up in a towel. She looked at me, confused. "You expecting someone?" I shook my head. "We just moved into the Oak Valley neighborhood 3 days ago. Quiet cul-de-sac, decent HOA, according to the realtor." Nothing seemed off, at least until now. I opened the door, and there she stood, Karen Fletcher, Oak Valley's self-appointed neighborhood watchdog and HOA president, clipboard in hand, sunglasses too big for her face. And that fake smile, the one that says, "I'm about to cause a scene." "Morning," she chirped, peering past me like I wasn't even there. "I need to see IDs. HOA protocol. New residents must verify identity within 72 hours. I blinked. "You need what now?" "IDs," she repeated, tapping her clipboard. "Your wife especially. She hasn't attended the mandatory orientation yet." Melissa walked over, arms folded. "You want to see my ID? Who exactly are you again?" "I'm the HOA president," Karen said, proudly puffing out her chest. "Security is a priority. We've had incidents." Melissa raised an eyebrow. "And you're going door to door like the HOA version of the TSA?" Karen's smile faded. "Ma'am, I'll need your cooperation." Melissa smirked. "I don't think so." Karen's jaw dropped. "Excuse me? You're not law enforcement. You're not even security. You're a neighbor with a clipboard. I don't show ID to random people on my porch." Karen's face turned bright red. "Then I'm filing a non-compliance notice. You're violating community standards." I sighed. "Look, Karen, maybe this is a misunderstanding. We'll go to the next HOA meeting, alright?" But she wasn't listening. She'd already whipped out her phone, dialing. "Security breach," she whispered into it. "Refusing ID. Might be hostile. I suggest rapid response." Melissa narrowed her eyes. "You didn't just call the police, did you?" "No," Karen snapped. "Better." She stormed off down the sidewalk. 5 minutes later, we heard sirens. Melissa looked at me, deadpan. "You've got to be kidding." 3 black SUVs pulled up at the end of the cul-de-sac, followed by an armored van. Men in full tactical gear jumped out, weapons drawn. "Hands where I can see them," one of them barked. Melissa didn't flinch. She stepped forward slowly, raised her hands, and then everything changed. One of the SWAT officers stopped cold. His eyes widened. He muttered something into his radio, then lowered his weapon and saluted. Karen, standing triumphantly at the end of the driveway, went pale. The air around us crackled with confusion. The rest of the SWAT team stood frozen, uncertain whether to proceed or stand down. The officer who had saluted stepped forward. He removed his helmet, revealing a square-jawed face and stern expression. "Ma'am," he said. "Melissa Carter." Melissa nodded slowly, still calm. "That's right." He turned to his team and barked, "Weapons down. This is a level 7 clearance individual. Everyone stand down." The others hesitated for a beat, then followed his lead, lowering their weapons and stepping back. Karen's jaw dropped so far, I half expected it to hit the pavement. "What? What's going on? Why are you saluting her?" She refused to show ID. The officer turned sharply to Karen. "Ma'am, I don't know who you think you are, but you just triggered a federal protocol response. If this had gone any further, you could have been facing serious consequences." Karen looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. "She's not special. She's just some housewife who wouldn't cooperate." Another agent stepped forward, holding a tablet. He turned it toward the first officer, who glanced at the screen, nodded, then looked at Melissa with a mixture of respect and apprehension. "Ma'am, I apologize for the disruption," he said. "Your status didn't flag immediately. We're clearing the perimeter." Melissa finally spoke, her voice measured, even. "Next time you deploy units to a residential street based on a nosy neighbor's phone call, maybe confirm the intel first." "Yes, ma'am," the officer said, and not sarcastically. "Understood." Karen was still fuming. What is she? CIA? Military? Secret Service? Melissa gave her a look that could slice granite. "You ever hear of Tier 1 intel agents?" Karen shook her head slowly. "Exactly," Melissa said. "You're not supposed to." The lead officer turned to me. "Sir, again, apologies. There's no threat. No need for a report on your end. We'll strike this from the system immediately." I just nodded, still stunned. "Thanks, I guess." The SWAT team piled back into their vehicles and peeled off silently, like ghosts. The neighbors peeked through blinds and from behind hedges, whispering. Karen didn't move. She looked deflated, like someone had punctured her inflated sense of control. Melissa turned to her one last time. "Next time, Karen, try baking a welcome pie instead of starting World War III." Without waiting for a response, she turned and walked back inside. I followed, shutting the door behind me. I started. "A long time coming," she said, already walking to the kitchen. I watched her for a moment. My wife, the woman I thought I knew, had just faced down a SWAT team without blinking. Who was she? I didn't get to ask right away because the next morning, things got worse. The next morning started deceptively normal. A breeze rustled the hedges. Birds chirped. I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when Melissa dropped a thick manila envelope on the kitchen counter. I raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "Documentation," she said calmly, sipping her tea. I opened it and nearly choked on my drink. Inside were files, classified-looking pages stamped with red ink, some with entire paragraphs blacked out. But what caught my eye was the photo at the bottom. It was Melissa, much younger, wearing tactical gear and standing between two military helicopters in a desert I couldn't identify. Her eyes in the photo were the same as they were yesterday, calm, calculating, and unreadable. "You were military?" I asked, still stunned. She tilted her head. "Not exactly. My clearance runs parallel to special operations, but it's more technical than combat." I opened my mouth to ask more, but the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Karen pacing like a caged animal. And she wasn't alone this time. She had two HOA board members in tow, Mr. Lyle from across the street and some thin guy who always wears golf polos like it's his job. I opened the door just enough to lean out. "Can I help you?" Karen didn't waste time. "We had a board meeting this morning. Your wife poses a security risk. The HOA is officially demanding she submit to a background investigation or leave the community." I blinked. "You're demanding what?" "She refused HOA compliance," Karen said. "Then a SWAT team arrives, salutes her, and we're just supposed to ignore that? This is a family neighborhood." Melissa appeared behind me, arms crossed, eyes sharp. "Karen, let me be clear. You have absolutely no authority to demand my personal information. And if you persist, I'll be forced to escalate this." Karen snorted. "To who? Some imaginary government agency?" Melissa didn't flinch. "Try the office of the Inspector General." Lyle looked like he wanted to crawl under the porch. The other guy whispered, "Karen, maybe we're pushing too hard." "No," Karen snapped. "She's hiding something." Melissa walked past me, holding a small remote. She pressed a button. The porch security camera switched to playback mode and began showing footage from the day before. The SWAT team, the salute, Karen's face when she realized she'd messed up. Melissa fast-forwarded to the moment the lead officer apologized. Karen went pale. Lyle backed away. The guy in the golf polo just mumbled, "I think we're done here." They left in silence. Melissa turned to me. "She's not done. That woman's ego won't let this go." She was right, because that night, someone tried to break into our garage. It was 2:13 a.m. when I heard the metallic clank, not a bump or creak, a deliberate sound, like someone forcing a latch. I sat up, heart pounding. Melissa was already awake, slipping on her slippers like she'd been expecting this. "You hear that?" I whispered. She nodded, calm as ever. "Garage side door." She grabbed her phone and tapped something on the screen. Silent alarm activated. Cameras live. Let's see what kind of amateur we're dealing with. I followed her into the kitchen, where the screen above the fridge flickered on. A grainy image came into view, a dark figure crouching at the side of our garage, fiddling with the door handle using some kind of tool. "Zoom in," Melissa said. I did, and nearly laughed out loud. Karen, wearing all black like a low-budget spy movie villain, holding a flashlight in her mouth, trying to force entry into our garage with a screwdriver. Melissa sighed. She really thought she'd get away with this. "What do we do?" I asked. She didn't answer. She just tapped her screen again. 2 minutes later, a silent black SUV rolled down the cul-de-sac, same vehicle as before. No sirens, no lights, just quiet efficiency. 3 men in tactical gear stepped out, not full SWAT, this was something even leaner. They didn't approach our front door. Instead, they moved with Kirk precision straight toward the garage. Karen was so focused she didn't see them until the infrared spotlight hit her. She froze like a deer in headlights. A calm voice spoke through a shoulder mic, "Karen Fletcher, step away from the property." Hands in the air. Karen shrieked and dropped the screwdriver. "Wait, wait. I was investigating suspicious activity." "You were trespassing," the lead agent said coldly. "Attempted forced entry on federal property." Karen stammered. "It's not federal. This is a residential home." Melissa opened the front door and called out, "Actually, Karen, the garage is classified. You just violated 3 federal codes. Hope you brought a toothbrush." Karen's eyes darted wildly. "You can't do this. I'm the HOA president." The agent held up a small ID badge. "And I'm with the Department of Homeland Security. Your title means nothing to me." They cuffed her, gently but firmly. She didn't even resist, just trembled. As they loaded her into the vehicle, Melissa turned to me and said, "She'll be out by morning. Community charges won't stick. But now there's a federal file with her name on it." I exhaled. "So, what now?" She looked at me with a small smile. "Now we renovate the garage. I need a more secure server room." I blinked. Server room? But she was already walking back inside. And just like that, I realized I didn't just marry the love of my life. I married a legend. If you've ever dealt with a neighborhood Karen or had someone try to flex fake authority on you, drop your story in the comments, we want to hear it. Hit that like button if Melissa handled this better than most agents would. And don't forget to subscribe, because next time someone demands your ID on your own porch, the SWAT team might just salute you, too.